Let's go.
Have you seen what Pat Riley said about your boy Jimmy Butler?
Nah, I didn't see it. I saw the snippet, but I didn't get a chance to read it. What fill me in? What did he say?
So basically, Jimmy Butler was, he's being Jimmy. You know how Jimmy talks a lot, and Jimmy is always with those photos and taking pictures, and you never know what mood you're going to get Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
When he comes into the things. Well, he made a comments and statements that if he had been playing, Miami would be sitting at home, New York would be sitting at home, basically stating that he's the man, like he's the king of all on the court, and that if he wasn't injured, if he was playing, then they would be home. That's what Jimmy said.
Okay.
Well, Pat Riley heard that and really took offense to it and was just saying, "Yo, pump your brakes. If you aren't on the court, shut up." That's what Pat Riley's basically told Jimmy Butler. If you're not on the court playing, against this team, don't be a Monday morning quarterback saying what you could have, should have, would have done if you was on the court. If you're not playing, shut up. Like, don't say you were going to win, they were going to, you were going to dominate them and stuff like that. Nah, you can't do that.
Hmm.
And honestly, I'm kind of with Pat Riley on this. I mean, and you got to understand, Pat Riley's an old school coach, right? He's an
Okay.
old school coach. He's not going with all the riffraff. So his motto is let your game talk on the court. Don't be off on while sunsetting and vacation and everything like that, running off at the mouth, talking about, oh yeah, we would have won, I would have knocked him out, I would have banged all this. Pat Riley said, kill all that. Now,
Hmm.
honestly, I think, Pat was right, like I said, but Jimmy's, if he was joking or if he wasn't, how do you feel what Jimmy said? Do you think that he had the right to say that? Or do you think what Pat was saying was like, yo, you really should just shut your mouth and just, say, hey, focus on rehab or focus on whether we're going to give you a max contract. So
Okay.
that's the
I
gist of
don't agree
what
with
went
that.
down.
I don't agree
You
with
don't
Pat
agree?
Riley at all. No, I think if Jimmy
Why is that?
Butler is the leader of the team, you're not a part-time leader. You're a full-time leader. Whether you're on the court, sitting on the bench, that's like telling a guy who's sitting on the bench because he's not playing because he hurt his back to not help coach his team, which is on the floor at that moment. That's asinine. Jimmy has the right to say something. Jimmy has the right to be a leader because you know what? Jimmy is the leader of that team. It sure ain't Bam. It ain't none of the other guys. So who's the leader of the team? Jimmy, right? So
But
he should be
should
able to
he be
say
saying
something.
that after the fact? Like, why are you saying
He
that
should
after
be,
your team got beat? Like, why don't you just, hey, let it be? You weren't on the court because you're injured. So why are you talking now after the series is over? So why are you doing all this talking now if you're the so-called leader? You should have
because
been
that's how he
talking,
feels.
should have been on the bench on the side trying to, get your rally the troops and stuff like that. Not, while you're at a party or somewhere like that. Yeah, talking all that smack. I don't agree with it. I think Pat Riley was right to just tell him Jimmy needs to shut up. Like,
Man, so
you don't have the right.
Pat Riley's old
Go.
school, and they think because you're old school, it's the be all end all, and you know everything. The generation has passed Pat Riley over. Cameras are in front of players all the time. They have a right to say whatever they want to say. They are no longer controlled by GMs, presidents, coaches. They make as much as them. They have a right to say whatever they want. If this guy felt like that they would have won without him, by all means, with him, by all means, say it. That's confidence in himself. He doesn't have to shut up because Pat Riley tells him, shut up and do your rehab. Man, get out of here. He can say whatever he wants to say. He is the leader of that team. They've only gotten so far because of who? Jimmy Butler. They've only gotten so far in the playoffs the last few years because of who? Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy
He,
Butler,
he, he never
100%.
told a lie. He's never told a lie. So if Jimmy said something false, okay, but his record speaks for himself. Jimmy ain't lying. Jimmy ain't
But
lying.
he's not lying. But you can't say what coulda, shoulda, would have happened
Why
if you
not?
were on the court. That's asinine. You can't just say, well, if I was there, we would have won. That's just like anybody else just saying, well, if I was there, I would have won this money. I would have got that. It's irrelevant. You know why? Because you weren't there. You weren't playing
That's
because you were
that's not
injured.
correct.
So don't just say. So I'm not. Hey, I'm one with you that just because you're an old coach, yeah, you definitely don't. What you say isn't gospel, especially some of the old coaches. Because another coach said something that I'll come back to in a second. But just because he's the old coach, it doesn't mean everything. But there is, there's truth to some of the meaning, right? Like, I feel like what Pat was saying is right. And it's not just because it's Pat Riley. Maybe it's a little bit because Pat was
Yes,
the old
look,
school. And I
Pat
do
has a
give Pat a
legacy.
little bit more respect than some of the younger coaches because he's done it. He's done it at every level. He's done it with multiple organizations and things of that nature. So I do give Pat a little bit more leniency to just say he's entitled to say what he has to say. Anyone who stands up, to these new age players, they got the right to say what they got to say. And
They can
we
say what
are,
they
some of
want to
us should
say.
listen. And I think we should definitely listen to what Pat had to say too. Like, hey, if you want a contract, a max contract, you running off at the mouth like this isn't really going to help your chances.
Oh,
Now,
so now he's threatening Jimmy's money. Like
I
good
didn't
old
say
boy
that.
Pat. That's what you just
I didn't
said.
say.
Good old
I didn't
boy
say. I
Pat
said this
Riley.
is
If you
now.
want to, if you want to,
This is time to renegotiate contracts, and you want to go running off the mouth and just say, "Oh, I'm this and I'm that." Well, if you this and that, you should have been on the court.
so hold up. I gotta back you up. Did Pat Riley mention anything about his contract?
No, he did not. He did
Okay,
not.
okay. Because
He
I
did
was
not.
about to go in on Pat
No,
if he
no,
did.
don't go. No, I'm not going to put words in Pat's mind. And no, he did not mention his
Okay,
contract. The
okay,
facts
okay.
is
Because if
that
he
his
did,
contract is out there now. Who is Jimmy looking for a max or extension from Miami? But this is just,
Jimmy gonna get it anywhere he
it
goes.
could be a negotiating tactic. I mean, but no one said anything about the contract. That's just
Okay,
me formulating my opinion about the situation and what he says. So
okay.
I ain't gonna throw Pat under the bus and
I
say
was about
he
to say
did nothing like that.
if he's threatening his contract, talk playing with his money like that because he doesn't like what he says. Okay, well that's a power control thing. You know what I'm
That's
saying? So, but since he
mm-hmm.
didn't say that, that would have been a whole different issue. But since he didn't, bottom line is, I think Jimmy has the right to say whatever he wants to say. Players do it all the time. GMs do it all the time. GMs talk about players they didn't have enough heart. You weren't on the court, GM. So shut your ass up because how can you say somebody didn't have enough heart? They didn't play with enough ferocity. How you know? You weren't on the court, GM. So it's
Oh, okay,
easy.
okay.
Everybody Monday morning quarterbacks, right? Everybody
Okay.
does it.
Okay. Fair enough. Everyone does it, but when you're the owner, president, of organizations, don't they have the right to be the biggest Monday morning quarterbacks? I'm asking for a friend. I'm asking for a friend. Just
I mean, do they have the right? I mean, they can say whatever they want to say. I think anybody
okay.
who's out there, whether they're a coach, whether they're a player, whether they're a GM, if they're involved, they have a right. A person doesn't have to shut up because you don't like what they're saying. They don't have to shut up. That's how the man felt. Like, and Pat Riley didn't like it. Okay, Pat, you didn't like it, but hey, you know what? To be honest with you, this generation of players are way different than when he coached.
Totally. 100%. Way totally different generation of players. So maybe he's just not into that generation. And therefore
Yeah,
he still has his own, he's setting his own way. And I get it. However, I'm going to still respect what Pat had to say about it. And I feel like Pat is still right. I'm not just going to I'm not giving Pat a pass. I'm just saying I agree with what Pat said that
makes
hey,
sense.
if you weren't on the court talking about what could have or should have happened or what you were going to do is irrelevant because you weren't. So that's how I say that's how I feel. I feel and understand what Pat Riley was saying. So
Okay. That makes
that's
sense. That makes sense.